Welcome to Silicon Valley Impact, where business insight meets startup innovation. And now, please give a warm welcome to your host, Brian Sparks!
Yes, thank you, Brian. I really appreciate that. My name is Brian Sparks. I'm your host, and this is Silicon Valley Impact. Brian, today's kind of a dawn of a new age. We won't go too much into it. But
I don't have any idea what you mean, Brian.
Yeah, no.
I don't know what you're talking about.
We'll just say this, that we're going to be taking the show to another level. Can we do that?
Yeah, I guess. I mean, I was going to play this.
That's actually my intro music.
But I'm not going to play that because I don't have anything to talk about.
Yeah, no, but we can say, and we will say, the show is going to a whole nother level.
Whole nother level.
A whole nother level.
Right.
And for today...
But right now, mum's the word.
But mum's the word.
Yep.
But for today, we got two whole nother level individuals in the room. Jessica, Genevieve, good to see you both. Thanks for being here. So we're going to do a deep dive into what they do. But before we go to that, I want to remind everybody we've got some great events coming up with the Venture House. We're going to have a new location. So those events will be picking up. We're also going to be having investor meet and greets. Those will be picking up soon in Los Gatos and the surrounding areas. So keep a lookout for those. But let's get into it. Jessica, you came all the way from San Francisco, and Genevieve, Walnut Creek. Thanks for being here. I'll let you, Genevieve. I'll let you kick it off. Yeah, I'll let you kick it off. Give a little intro, and then Jessica will introduce you and your friend that you brought.
All right, I'll go first. Hi, everyone watching,
yes,
and everyone here. My name is Genevieve LeMarchal. I am the general partner of Suncoast Ventures. We invest in healthcare technology, digital health, and medical devices. Refining the language over the years thus far, I think the crispest and most impactful way to explain what I'm looking for is I look for billion-dollar healthcare problems that are hiding in plain sight. And we are looking for unexpected entrepreneurs, unexpected problems, and we like to do things in unexpected ways.
And I'm going to double click on that and ask you all about how you got into that. But Jessica, introduce yourself and a little bit about Angie as well.
Hi, I'm Jessica Karr, general partner at Coyote Ventures. We have a lot of overlap actually with Suncoast, and we're addressing overlooked populations through primarily digital health. So thinking about healthcare access for all. So we've done a lot in women's health and we're known for that. But a lot of these problems that have a lot of women as customers also fit our thesis. So can get into that later as well. My dog Angie is 4 months, and I previously had Eddie, who a lot of people knew. He passed away early January. But he had a chance to train her in life just a little bit. So.
Well, glad to have Angie here. Sorry to hear about, what was your dog? Eddie. Yeah, and apparently a lot of people did know about Eddie.
I've heard a couple people ask me if I knew about Eddie passing away.
Oh,
he was wise beyond his dog years, I think.
He was a little person.
Like a tiny Buddha covered in hair.
I love it. So I see you both have overlap in women's health.
Yeah.
Let me go to you first, Genevieve. What got you into this particular sector? What was kind of your run up? And of course, I'm then going to ask you and you, Jessica, what is it about the startup ecosystem and investing that you love? So maybe there's a crossover there.
Yeah, there's a lot there. So what got me into healthcare or women's health or VC?
Yeah, did it evolve? What was the evolution? What kind of brought you to this point?
This thing. Well, so I started out just dabbling in venture. I never would have thought, I'm sure you didn't either, that it's not like I woke up one day and said, I think I'm going to become a venture capitalist today. But my career path slowly, incrementally led me here. And I started out investing more kind of as an apprentice, helping out a firm, just generalist. Technology and consumer products, but I always wanted to invest in things that I thought would really help the world. And being so naive back then, I didn't understand why VCs didn't invest in things that helped the world when they could. Mm-hmm. Now I understand the complexities of it. But so over over years, I eventually got enough experience and got enough kind of resources around me to be able to niche into health. But I got really interested in areas such as women's health. So we don't do only women's health, but because I really wanted to invest in the areas that other investors were overlooking. And women's health is 100% an overlooked area.
What equipped you that you're talking about? You're in, a previous role before, but what was it about that role that equipped you to kind of step into this venture?
I was in many previous roles. I think I've had all kinds of I was trained as a journalist. That's how I started my career out of school. And then I ended up in venture capital. But prior to starting Suncoast, I ran a healthcare accelerator out of LA. And so I had an opportunity to build this health accelerator program, attract advisors, investors, and companies, and iterate very quickly on a process and a deal flow pipeline and all of this stuff. And so I think we probably invested in 29 companies or something like that. And so I had a lot of feedback really quick about what was going to work and what wasn't going to work. And some of the companies in that portfolio are doing quite well. And people started to inquire as to whether I would ever start a venture firm. And at the time, the answer was no. And then, of course, I went and did it. But yeah.
So we'll come back to that. But I'm fascinated about this accelerator. What was kind of the tools that you surrounded yourself with? What was the resources? How were you able to attract the collaborations? Because a lot goes into it, right?
Yeah.
In order to make this move.
Accelerators are such a difficult business. I'm sure you can attest. But so I actually attracted all the resources that I needed to run this accelerator from a prior role where I worked in a venture firm. And that was an interesting kind of career lesson because I actually got fired from that job. And I thought it was the end of the world. I really felt like I was going to take off my shoes and hang my jacket and stay there forever. I thought it was my forever home. I wasn't a general partner in that firm. I didn't know what was going on in the fund side. I was purely in my happy deal flow realm and doing all that stuff. So there were things going on at that firm that I didn't know. And then when I got let go, and you're often an easy scapegoat when you're let go. And so a lot of things that I didn't even know were happening were blamed on me. And I just thought, this is the end for me, So I went and studied investment banking for a little while because it's not like there are signs out there in the world, help wanted, venture capitalist, fill out an application. So I knew a few people and I thought I would do mergers and acquisitions for healthcare, technology and medical devices. And once I got enough of a track record that way, maybe I could start a VC firm. But I didn't really want to do investment banking. And so through that journey, I met a lawyer. He introduced me to the people running this accelerator in LA who hired me. And they basically said, we're going to pay you peanuts and pocket lint. So hardly anything, but you get a blank check. You can make as many deals as you can, make good ones. You have to do it on our structure. And then they said the magic words, we're not going to get in your way. You can build whatever you want. And so I decided to take that path, which was get paid less, build something, and I earned some equity on that portfolio as well. So that process happened right around the time that the prior firm was starting to implode on their very own, this time I was not around, and all the best people came to me. So back when I thought that my world was ending because I had been let go, my world was actually beginning because those people became my first LPs, my first deal flow pipeline, advisors, people who work with me to this day.
Wow.
So the failure that I thought I was being blamed for turned out to be the seeds that I really needed to move forward.
I mean, so much there, because I was going to ask you, what did you learn from being laid off? But clearly it was the beginning. It wasn't the end, right?
It was the beginning, not the end, but I didn't know that for a while.
Yeah, it was kind of hidden. But what the powerful thing that I'm hearing about you was you have this capacity to build. And of course, couple that with journalism, the ability to kind of frame things effectively, really positioned you, because it sounds like you were using those skills to connect with people, building relationships, and then building the accelerator, which built your reputation. And you started then to build a lot of trust in what I'm hearing, the ecosystem that surrounded you.
Yeah. Well, and I think you're hitting on something about connecting. It's like finding out what people's stories are. And then journalists are taught, of course, to always look for the story. And I wanted nothing more than to break a story when I was really young. So I was always looking for some sort of scandal. I think once I even went through the trash in the chief of police's office, like in his like...
Did your own detective work, yeah.
Yeah, I was looking for something. There was nothing there, but it was a very small town. But, you know, I was reporting, I had the police little thing, like radio on my desk, and there would be like a fire at the donut shop or something, and I would go, and, you know, of course, there was the facts, which the donut shop caught on fire. But I was always like, was there foul play? What was happening? Because I wanted to break a story. Yeah. And I never did. But we do that in our jobs now. You know, you're always looking for, what is somebody's background? Why do you do this? There are 10,000 other easier ways to make money than start a company. So why are you doing this? What's your reason? And then also looking for the thing, like what's the thing that maybe you're not putting out there that we should know?
Oh, that's so good. Okay, that could be a
rat
whole...
in the bushes. Every startup's got one.
I love telling a story. That could be a whole nother show. Yeah. Jessica, I want to bring you in along with Angie. Give a little background on what landed you into this ecosystem, what you love about it. Give us a little insight on how you've positioned yourself.
Definitely. I think a lot of people who start venture firms come from a really non-traditional background. And I share that with Genevieve as well. And I came from the science side, but I think scientists and journalists definitely have a lot in common of taking a microscope to, whatever we're looking at. So I grew up around healthcare. My mom's a OBGYN nurse, and I worked there in the summers. And my dad's a dentist. He owned his own practice. So I actually started working when I was 14, just filing charts. By the time I was 18, I was a dental assistant, fully certified. I loved helping with surgeries. And so when I started college, I was pre-med, discovered that I really was okay at like research. So I majored in biochem instead. I joined a lot of labs. I had an incredible opportunity doing lab research at Berkeley one summer during undergrad, and that totally changed my career path. So I started as a PhD in biochem in San Diego, and once I finished the master's, I decided the PhD was not for me. Was very happy to leave the lab. And then the PI I worked for in Berkeley knew the founder of Impossible Foods. So I got a job there when it was less than a year old, back in 2012. It was about 12 people at the time, and I was working in research. So I was there about 6 years total. Ultimately contributed a lot in the flavor of Impossible Burger, and got really into that world of emerging tech, impactful innovations in climate and food. And I worked in that for a while. I definitely missed healthcare because that was my roots, and that's also what I worked on in all of my science projects. So after working with startups for a while, after leaving Impossible, and I did an MBA, I fell into venture, but it was what I wanted, but I didn't really know, even though Impossible was incredibly venture backed, I didn't get a lot of exposure to that side of things. So I was learning a lot sort of in the years following that. And I worked also at a generalist firm and found kind of similar, probably very different, but similar experience of things that were not going well. And yeah, the story could come out and we could do a follow-up. There is a story.
It sounds like you had a sampling of a lot of the venture space, but yet where you are now in terms of healthcare is really in your roots. It's in your family, and you've kind of just merged that vehicle of investing to what you grew up around. Is that what I'm hearing? Mm-hmm. Yeah. And so when did you decide, hey, forget all this, I'm going to just start my own fund? Because that's a leap, right? I mean, mm-hmm. you essentially you take inventory on your life, and do I have the skills? Do I have the network? Do I have the grit to essentially do this? And I'm going to have the same question for you, Genevieve, but Jessica.
I can't wait to hear Jessica's answer.
Yeah.
Spill it, girl. Tell me.
Yeah, and you two can bounce off each other. So
Definitely.
what was that leap? Because I think a lot of people in startup, in venture, across the board, make that leap.
Yeah.
What was that process
I mean,
like?
you don't know as much going into it as you do when you're a few years in. I'll say that, but I'm glad I'm doing it. But it's definitely not for everyone. So similar to Genevieve, and I don't always tell this part, but I did get laid off as well. There were definitely a lot of shady things going on that were being uncovered. And I essentially had developed the thesis for Coyote while thinking I was investing with this other firm. They didn't have the money to actually invest. And so I started talking to everyone I could at the moment, sort of planning my exit. And I did meet somebody that was interested in co-founding Coyote. And we collectively took a few months and gathered LP interest. We had a lot of deal flow just from the get-go. The very first deal we invested in did come from my deal flow from my prior firm. And so, yeah, I started with a co-founder who's since had less involvement. But I would say it was very helpful for getting started and having the confidence of like, yeah, we can do this. It was 2021, so everything was sort of virtual, which actually really helped. We didn't have the expectations we had a lot of international LPs, so we didn't have them expecting us to fly to Europe. We have some in Australia. And, in 2021, venture was really hot. So it was a good time, I would say, to start it as well.
So, I mean, the lifeblood of a fund are their LPs. How are you attracting so many interests around the world? And what was kind of like your process? Because if anyone could be a VC, right? They could put that on their LinkedIn ad, but they could be The Walking Dead with no money, nothing to deploy.
Many people do.
Yeah, and many people do. But those who are now working on their second funds, subsequent funds, they have developed trust. So how did you really engage with LPs over a long period of time? I mean, you were in the game and then made the leap and they followed you. So you built some sort of trust, but
they didn't follow me from the prior firm. I built pretty much all of our LPs from scratch. I took some of the deal flow over, but I wasn't on the LP side before. I think a lot of it was authenticity. So really caring, like they could see sort of why me as a GP, they could really understand like the need in the market. So a lot of our LPs are in healthcare, really understand the problem, see the opportunity, and even if they're not directly in healthcare, they can see how this is majorly overlooked and can drive.
So you had a compelling thesis. You had a story, it sounded like, and the LP market and investors resonated with that. Is that what you're saying? Yeah, I love that. And so, Genevieve, same question with you. Let's start with the leap, right? Because everyone has to take that leap of faith. Can I do this on my own? And I'm super fascinated by the fact that you were both laid off. Yeah. When we first started the show, fun fact, we brought in people who were laid off to talk about that. Because again, where there's so much impact or what people perceive as a disaster or traumatic experience, there's a lot of potential to build from that. So I find that fascinating between you two. But Genevieve, what was the leap for you?
I think it's the same. Like, you've got to be a little naive to start to do this. If I knew what I know now, I might not have. I mean, I'm like Jessica, I'm glad I did it, but I don't know if I would have done it knowing what I know today and how things would have gone. I started my firm. I was like trailing Jessica about a year. I think I was maybe about a year, 6 months behind her. So we ran right. It wasn't a great time to raise a fund. It was an okay time to do a first closing.
But there's never the right time, right? You just went for it.
But 2023 is not the good time to raise a fund. Everyone is running away from venture funds. But so I wouldn't have done it the same way, I think, had I known what I know. I probably would have had a healthy dose of first timers, like naivete going on, I think. And like Jessica, I also built my LP base from scratch. Of the people that I had met before, most of the people who came over, only one of them became an LP. The rest of them were just advisors and early deal flow. I also had a co-founder who started the firm with me and is also not as involved anymore. And I learned through this process, a lot of people want to be in venture capital, but not everybody should. And it is not as easy as it seems. It's not as glamorous as it looks. It's very difficult. There's a lot of uncertainty, and you have to just push forward, even if you don't really know the answers, and that's not something a lot of people can do. And you also have to have the right life circumstance going at the moment. So some people, their right life circumstance was, they had some huge exit and they were really flush with capital and they could anchor their own first closing, and then they could go out and raise. And I think that's what you see in a lot of like kind of traditional VCs, more old school. With the younger generation of VCs, I think more so have a vision and we have energy. And so others back the vision and the energy, even if sometimes they're like, I think my LPs were in the camp of, I don't really understand what you're doing here, but you're clearly doing something. So I'm going to throw in and see what happens. And luckily they're all pretty happy, I think, with how things are going. But I think that there's definitely a different breed of person now. And I think it's a lot more, I would say, more entrepreneurial maybe than it used to be in the past. We have to build faster. We have to deploy funds quicker. I don't know what else. What else is
Marketing is marketing a lot of time.
Ooh, tell me more.
It's a marketing job.
Yeah.
No one tells you that.
It's like sometimes I could either be looking at a deal or I could be posting on LinkedIn, doing podcasts,
hosting
writing events,
Yeah.
newsletters. I started shifting my focus way more on sort of all of that, which also leads, to deal flow, LPs. It's important. And I realize I can train people to diligence, but I can't, I'm kind of had to be more and more like the face. It's a lot.
It's a marketing job. 100%.
Is that one of the newest looks of a successful VC, or anything that you wanted to kind of deploy into the world and the market is the marketing part?
I think this is just going to be my opinion, and I don't want to upset any other fund managers who might hear this, but when we both did VC Lab, which is an accelerator, and I watched a lot of people in that community, in the cohort, basically trying to decide how they were going to use AI better than other firms were using AI to like AI better than AI does or something. And pretty early on, I knew I was going to lose that battle, and I didn't even try. Everyone was spending lots of time trying different AI tools for automation of this and scaling that. And I basically just said, we're going to do stuff that doesn't scale. And I am going to 100% focus on my strength, which is writing and producing content and doing that sort of thing and talking to people like human to human. And that has been something that has worked out much better for me. But I do think there are other firms that don't do this and do okay. I don't know. I hope.
It seems like they have some elements of marketing and back in the day it was like Twitter and like I think that's kind of still a thing, X, but haven't been in a while. But I do think firms that have some kind of following have always been in a lead in some ways.
I agree. Yeah. And I also think there's so many new firms, and it's easier to launch a VC fund than it used to be because the costs, the barrier to entry, a lot of that things are lower now than they used to be. So you have a lot more people kind of going for it. Now, whether they actually make it is a whole other story. And sometimes it's hard to tell who's actually doing it versus who's trying to do it. And I forgot where I was going with that.
It's not for everyone either. Like everybody with a community, somebody tells them you should start a fund because you have this deal flow. And it's sort of like, a lot of people talk about it like it's an easy side gig. And I'm even in this newsletter that just said like, oh, we have 100 million in soft commits and thanks for being in our community. And I'm like, that's a serious number. And it just kind of was
the key word there is soft commits.
I was like, wow, it's definitely not for everyone. And it's kind of like multiple personality disorder.
Yeah. Well, I love this idea of building, right? Because there is a dawn of a new time. I mean, if you think back to the 80s and 90s in terms of VCs, there's that there's this image, this historical image of what the VCs are. It's, it's family. It's, you grew up in it, and it's one thing. But now there's becoming this need for more of a story, more of insight to bring a value add. You do need to wear multiple hats, and you two have really addressed the market by attacking a very, very big need. What is it about women's health? And of course, you two could just bounce off each other and completely forget about me here. But what is it about women's health that is really, and we've had Nolan Masterson in here and talking about it. What is a big need there? Why this? Is it just the space that you're most comfortable with? Clearly, Jessica, you have a history in it. But for both of you, why did you choose this particular area? And I'll just drop the
Genevieve,
mic.
We don't consider ourselves only women's health investors either, even though that's how people categorize us. But it did start off from my lens of overlooked markets, and kind of new markets. So being part of the early wave of new foods, and then seeing kind of a similar sort of emerging technology kind of category with women's health. When I was at the other firm, there were a couple examples of women's health companies that were starting to show success, back in 2020, like Maven Clinic. And I came across it not really realizing I was going full circle with my background and family, but more curiosity of seeing some pre-seed and seed stage companies addressing these areas, and then basically pattern recognition of oh, I'm interested in all these things that are addressing this new market for women, and it's a new category. Some people call it femtech, but I have since abandoned that word and discouraged the use. So I think it was excitement of all of these areas that have been historically overlooked, amazing innovations. There's a lot of passion from the people who are working in it, and it's also welcoming. It's lots of people coming from other areas of healthcare or other areas of technology. And I think it's a really exciting place where people are meeting from, various angles and various expertise.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Genevieve, why this space?
Well, all of that, but I would say we're both basically self-taught investors, right? I have an MBA, you have an MBA, but they don't teach you venture, and venture is the opposite of corporate finance or anything you learn there. And so I would say I learned investing by reading books from the best investors and trying to understand how they think and how they pick markets or stocks, how they diversify portfolios. It's something I took in over time.
Mm-hmm.
And for me, it's you always want to invest in the undervalued asset.
Mm-hmm.
You want to invest in the market that's not receiving, that has outsized opportunity and less resources going into it. To win as an investor, you want to be early, you want to be first, and of course, well validated, and you want to buy underpriced assets.
Mm-hmm.
And so for, women's health, I was the easy way is 50% of the population is women.
Mm-hmm.
And women are becoming, quickly becoming the, controlling a lot of the wealth in the country, the wealth transfer everyone's talked about. A lot of that's going to women. All of the big macro trends were moving towards women. And then, at the same time, I think it's estimated, McKinsey just put out something that said $400 billion GDP estimated available for women's health. And that there's just a handful of investors that are doing this. And so I'm this is
yeah. And I think investing in women's health, adding $1 trillion to the global economy.
Yeah.
Yeah. And health equity was also.
Even taking the equity part aside, even if you just spoke only, because I found an order, if I come in, I don't know if you get this experience, but if I come in trying to talk about health equity, people automatically discount that we're not trying to get performance. And that's something I want to try to debunk about women's health, is that there's a lot of money to be made if you invest in it. Mm-hmm. It's not about it's not charity.
Yeah. Well, let me double click on that from the perspective, because right now I could just collectively feel all the founders in our audience, ears go up like, oh, what are you interested in? And you gave your thesis earlier about what you're looking for, but a lot of great ideas will come across your desk. It'll come through your email. What are you looking for from a founder or a startup that would get your attention early on? And Genevieve, I'll start with you, and then Jessica, you can answer the same way. What is attractive? What are you looking for? Clearly a great story, but on paper, what is it that you're looking for?
So, I mean, obviously a great story. I meet a lot of founders who their story is very thin, and you can tell they just decided that this was a potential money-making opportunity. And I just think entrepreneurship is too hard, and money is not enough to get you out of bed at a certain point.
Yeah,
you're just
There's
you're not
got to
going
be
to get
passion,
up.
right?
Yeah, and I like to use kind of the example of one of my founders, and he's sort of this classic example. Chris Thompson, his company is called Sober Sidekick, and it's the fastest growing healthcare technology in the world right now, and the fastest growing product in North America, and it's an app for people who are struggling with substance abuse. It's growing faster than Whoop Band and Aura Ring and the Garden thing. It's just you don't have people running around talking about how cool their new sobriety community is, and sharing that. But Chris's story is he woke up on the sidewalk. He himself was an addict, homeless, and had the lucid thought, that maybe this could be the last day, the first day of whatever was next. He wrote the first line of code from a sober living home. And then he had maybe 70,000 or so users before he got his first check from an investor, which happened to be from me. And he didn't even know really what a deal room was and how to put one together. I helped him. He was sitting on his laptop in his living room of his apartment, and he's since really taken off with this. And so with someone like Chris, he's willing to give the finger to the status quo because he has nothing to lose. He has been at rock bottom. He knows what that's like, and it didn't kill him. Yeah. Although it almost did. And so, that industry, there's so much pressure to sell leads to recovery facilities that the rehab industry is like a $32 billion industry with a 3%, something like that, success rate. So it's not designed to get people better. Yeah. And so Chris basically said, screw you guys. I am not selling out these people who truly need help to someone who just is going to take money from them and cycle them in and in and in over again. So it's that's almost the kind of founder that you want, who's truly has guns blazing, has nothing to lose. Yeah. Will go after it. And he's very unconventional. I don't think now VCs all over are scrambling to fund him or have funded him. But I think at that time, it was more about who is this person? Yeah. He woke up on the sidewalk on Thanksgiving and decided to start this company.
Wow. Yeah, just this morning, that story reminds me of a founder I was talking to this morning. I was talking to Rich Larson of Be Safe. And their app allows you to activate your phone so that it can start recording and streaming to family members if you're in danger. And he's all in on this because of what happened to his daughter. She was attacked, and not to go too deep into his story, but when he was telling me, I have daughters, and to know that they're vulnerable, and that if they would have just said something to their phone and it starts streaming this emergency information to family and they can contact somebody to keep them safe, I'd want that. Right. And so the fact that he had that story, and he's going to be on the show, but no doubt that when someone has passion to get them over the pain that's going to come from startup, you just feel that they're unstoppable and they're going to bring this to market. Not just somebody who saw, well, there's an opportunity because AI is booming and I'm an engineer and I saw that I could build this. Great. That sounds, that's maybe, right? But this passion, absolutely, I get it. But Jessica, for you, when you see a startup come across your desk, what is, it's hard to top that passion piece, right? But in addition to that, what is it that you're looking for?
I would say that we definitely, that as part of it. So we say founders with direct experiences with the populations they're designing for. And usually that does mean that they were that person that suffered from XYZ problem. So since we already went into that, I'll kind of go to some other things we look for. A lot of times the founders also have been in a role such as the type of person that they would be selling into. So that's kind of like an unfair advantage, we call it. We didn't invent that word. And then, so an example being a founder who's, looking to partner with healthcare payers. She has a solution for high-risk pregnancies. So she herself had gestational diabetes and is designing around that and other high-risk pregnancies and birth equity generally. But the unfair advantage part was she used to be in innovation at United Healthcare. So she knows exactly how to look at ROI in the lens that the healthcare payers do. And that kind of ties into sort of two other things that are a little more unique to how we look at things. One being health outcomes are directly measured by the company. We produce our impact report every year and we pull from the company updates. We don't really make them do any extra work. We just say they're already like measuring the health outcomes. A lot of them are directly reported in our impact report. So that has been a way where we can tell a company is really able to make change. They're not all able to, so it is a way that we think about which deals are best for our firm as well. And then another one is true innovation. So is this like pure digitation, like just telehealth, or is there something that is more like human-centered design element?
Okay, so we're going to break that down a little bit. But Brian, I got to look to you. I'm so used to going to a break at this point. Do we need to do that?
Well, in fact, I think we should just keep going because I know Jessica has someplace to be. So let's just keep rolling today.
We're going to keep rolling. Okay, we get to be a little bit more messy than usual.
We have that ability now, but for something something I can't talk about.
Yeah, we can't talk about it. But we're on a whole new trajectory at this point. All right, so. Jessica, tell me a little bit more about, because what I'm hearing you say is, and I'm actually, Genevieve, I'm hearing you say this too, that founder fit matters.
Yes.
Right.
Yes.
Does the founder, is that person right for this particular role? And they may be right in the beginning, but may not be right long term. So there's that. But talk more about this unique advantage that particular founders have. And you also talked about impact report. Maybe for our audience, can they subscribe to one of your newsletters to get to that? Or is there something?
It's directly on our website, coyote.ventures.
All right. Little plug for Coyote Ventures. I love it. Coyote.ventures, right? Okay.
CoyoteVentures.com might take you to like a snow plowing website, or there's a couple other Coyote Ventures. We're the only venture fund in Coyote Ventures.
So go check that out. So you're looking at data, you're looking at founder fit, and you said that so how can maybe this is for both of you, I'm trying to kind of push this together. How can a founder get ready to pitch to you? Say you said, hey, I want to have a second conversation. I looked at your deck. There was an intro. How can they kind of prepare for that conversation? Is that too general, or should I?
Well, I have a tip, actually.
Yeah.
So a lot of founders, they come to a venture fund. And of course, as they know, there are multiple people in the venture fund. And it's not just like Jessica has a checkbook and she skips around writing checks. Like, there's other partners.
You don't do that? No.
People think I do. I used to think that that's what VCs did. Wouldn't it be fun? But no. And you have to get consensus on the deal. There have been deals I really liked that I didn't do, even though I'm the general partner, because I couldn't get the consensus that I really felt like I needed. And I would say a lot of people come and, like, let's say they pitch first to me. They then assume that I perfectly translated everything within our conversation over to Jessica. And either that's not the case. I either told her 3 sentences what you do, and I probably got some facts wrong, or I didn't tell her at all because we were busy, or maybe that's by design, because when she talks to that founder, I want her to have a completely fresh second thing, not being tainted by whatever I might have to say. And then, after it goes through kind of that process on our end, then we might have a presentation where they pitch again to all the partners. And I have all the partners come, even the ones who might do medical devices, for example, because I want everyone to learn and everyone to get experience and context, because I intend to keep this team together through multiple funds. And so they'll very much drag an enthusiasm. And so with me, they like come on the call, they're engaging, they're like, they clearly have their coffee, like they're really on it.
Great first impression.
Yeah. And then when they go to the next, it's like, yeah, she was pretty good, blah, blah, blah. And then when it gets to the team, they're like bored. And it's like this vibe, like, why am I here? I don't have time. They're like multitasking. So sometimes
the actual founder is doing this. Wow, okay.
And so sometimes I want to just say, like, it's, then people will then the other partners will get caught up in the details because they're not starry-eyed about the founder anymore. And it's so easy for the founder to just take an extra shot of espresso and bring the enthusiasm the whole way through. And your odds of being successful are much higher, like probably 50% higher.
Yeah.
If you're just energized and enthusiastic and you treat each interaction in that process like it's an individual one.
You know what's funny? Warren Buffett gave the exact number.
He did?
You could increase your success rate by 50% just by being a better communicator. And I think that includes bringing that energy, bringing that sense of connection and engagement. And if people are falling asleep or not understanding what you're saying,
I'm pretty sure one of the founder calls, she was like drinking wine at like noon. It's like,
you're like, I love that
or maybe
vibe.
if it looks like wine, be like, hey, this is kombucha, just FYI. It's like, this is, she was like rolling her eyes, throwing it back.
I had a founder one time pitch to me shirtless while vaping.
Oh my God.
Get out of here. Was he?
Wow.
Brian, go ahead.
Oh no, I just think that's awesome. I mean, in a way, I'd be intrigued.
Brian's like, I'm sorry about that. I wasn't.
Yeah.
That was me. I'm sorry.
Was that you?
Yeah.
Can I say badass on the radio?
Yeah, now you can. With a wink and a nod.
I'll build on that. I think I totally agree. We've built out a team. I usually try to not do the first call. I have some venture partners who do the first call, and it just really increases my bandwidth for some things I'm working on, and can get to that as well. And I would say, like, in general, if founders are wanting to pitch investors and understanding the VC class, there's so much information online, and understanding, what a limited partner is, how funds work, and really understanding, and you can ask us about it. But there's nice ways to ask about it, and there's rude ways to ask about it. I think recently some founders I'm not even interested in looking at their company, and they'll be like, what's your average check size? Are you deploying right now? It's like really sassy. And I'm like, how about I share that if I actually move forward with a conversation? But I think that there's not,
What's the strategy?
I got into that as well. I got that. Yeah.
What's the best strategy?
Stop.
Yeah.
What's the best strategy for a founder that's listening and they're going, maybe they're not the big personality, maybe they're not connected.
Yeah.
And how do they really kind of go the pathway of getting in front of a VC to get an opportunity? And maybe they don't know that pathway. Could they go another way? Could they go through a friend, an angel group? What are some suggestions? Because you probably get a lot that comes across your desk, but there's a strategy to being there.
There is. And I hate to say that, because I think we all want to say, I want to meet every founder and I want to look at everything, but it's impossible. It is impossible. I was doing that to a point, and I got extremely burned out. I actually had massive health issues, and not just because I met every founder, but because I was just doing too much. So unfortunately, everybody, founders included, need to get really efficient with our time. And I will, on your question, I will use an example. One of our founders is Neil Ray from Radiant Oximetry. He is a pediatric anesthesiologist. He's an incredible person, but I would not say Neil is a big personality. He's reserved. He is, much more of a medical, brain. His whole team are engineers. And I think Neil Ray he has been very conscientious from the start about his fundraising process. He was very prepared, just like you might be very prepared for surgery. So he understood, he educated himself on the process. He walked himself through the steps, starting with, the angel groups. And he didn't immediately say, my idea is so amazing, I'm going to go straight to the big VC firms. He started with angels and moved his way up through that. And so my conversations with Neil were always he was one of the first deals I did coming back from my very short maternity leave. And I never felt like he was rushing me. And even though he was always honest, he was transparent with his timelines, but he wasn't playing games. And I think a lot of education and advice that founders receive is how to play games with VCs. And it just doesn't work. Don't play games with anyone. And so I think that's when the hard qualification questions are coming into place. It's that's kind of a game in a way. And it's just be prepared, swing at your weight class, and don't play games.
So two things. Tell me more about swing at your weight class. And then what I'm also hearing, what I've learned in this, and correct me if I'm wrong, I think it's okay for founders to say, I don't know. So when you hear the weight class thing, tell me a little bit more what that means.
Well, so if you're raising a pre-seed round, you're going to be most successful raising that from angels and people that you have current relationships with who know you and have some context that they can invest in and use to back their investment decision. That's not just your traction, because you're going to be really lacking in a lot of areas, and you're not going to be able to song and dance at all to make up for that. I mean, I was in that same position. I had to raise my first fund closing with nothing but a deck and a thesis and an idea, and I had to take a lot of small checks. And so when I say kind of swing at your weight class, it's your first couple seed rounds or pre-seed rounds, you may be taking small checks and you may be taking them from angels. So trying to impose some of these really hard requirements for check sizes, or, we're really looking for a lead who can be of this criteria or this caliber when that's not really where you're at, will just put barriers in your way.
Okay. That makes sense.
I think that's perfect advice, because I do see a lot of, and I want to help, but I also can't give advice to a ton of people I don't know. So I think they can sometimes say, can I have feedback on my pitch deck, or they're raising only $500K, and we're usually, the round after that, after they have a product. And so I think happy to be get on our radar early and stay in touch, but not going to do a lot of meetings and diligence and deck feedback and advice, because that can be a bit extractive.
I mean, a lot of different ways to play this. I mean, it's like a game of chess, right? You can learn how the pieces move, but every game is a little bit different. But I love this insight. And as we kind of get towards the end portion of the show, I definitely want to pivot a little bit and ask you what you're building now, what you're working on now. I know, Jessica, you've got a conference event coming up. Definitely want to talk a little bit about that. So let's hear what you're working on in terms of this conference, an event that's coming up.
Yeah, we're launching a summit. It'll be the first one. It's April 10th and 11th in San Francisco. It's going to be light on content, but the content is going to be heavy hitting, straight to the point, about achieving health for all. We have some amazing keynote speakers lined up. One that we just announced today is Kenny Thomas. He was a former NBA player. And we also have folks from healthcare, Blue Shield of California, UCSF. I'm going to highlight some innovators. And so we'll have about a half a day of programming. We're going to do some roundtables, so getting to directly chat with people from the healthcare ecosystem, whether you're targeting, working with healthcare payers. Obviously, investors will be there. And Argia from Maveron is RSVP'd. Very excited about her. have a few family office folks coming as well. Of course, Coyote team. And then April 11th is going to be fun. So we planned a lot of experiences. We're going to do an art experience on April 10th. So related to art and healthcare by Emily Peters, who has a book about art and medicine. And then April 11th, we're doing yoga, walk, run, cold plunge in the bay.
Nice.
Lunch.
Okay. Oh,
so
yeah, let's make it
lots
exciting.
of time to have fun.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah.
Okay. It sounds like an exciting experience. What was kind of your motivation? Is this your first summit, or no?
This is the first summit of this kind. Yeah, it's we've done a lot of events. I would say more happy hour style, and so this is the first bigger one. But the motivation was looking at sort of people in the network and thought leaders and explaining, how our thesis has evolved, how we're not just women's health, how we're looking at all these barriers to healthcare, but especially how they affect women. And I explain that to people, and then they go back to women's health. They're like, oh, I just saw a menopause company. I'm like, that's not really what I'm talking about. And so I kind of struggle with that communication every day. So part of it was like, people who come to this are going to actually see what I mean, because and maybe after the summit, I'll be able to explain it better.
I love it.
That was the inspiration, but also there's a huge gap in these types of gatherings. There's, and if you look at the women's health side, most of the conferences are put on by just like conference producers who don't understand the space, and people pay to speak, and it's just sponsored by big pharma. And, So part of this was and I attend some of those, and they talk about stats that, we were using 4 years ago. They don't really even have lived experience in the stats. And part of it was saying okay, we're all here because we're working in it, and it's a missed opportunity if you show up and people just try to explain why you should be there. And you're like, I am here. And that was a huge missed opportunity. So part of what I'm prepping all the speakers on personally is hey, we're going deep into this. There's going to be people from all different parts of the ecosystem. It's an opportunity to collaborate and then not just be talked at. So that's why we added all the experiences as well. And it's going to be pretty small and intimate. It's going to be capped at 100. So, buy your tickets soon.
And where can people find tickets?
Again, just go to Coyote.Ventures. It'll link out from there. That'll be the easier domain to remember.
Well, sounds
Coyote
fun.
Ventures.
And it's going to be in San Francisco.
Yeah, the Argonaut Hotel. So, we'll dip in the bay from there. Yeah.
Okay,
That's where
good.
I swim all the time. So
Oh, you're a swimmer.
it's a personal
Swim in the bay.
passion.
Nice.
Yeah.
Okay. These little tidbits coming out one by one.
You guys gotta come.
Oh, yeah. Oh, I'm definitely going to check it out.
Sure.
Jen,
You can just do the yoga. You can watch.
I'll do the yoga. I'll watch
so
the swimming.
fun.
We'll just come for the cold plunge, I think.
yeah, well, Genevieve and I
then we'll
will,
go for
and
brunch.
Brian,
Yeah.
we'll be standing with our
Jessica
coffee
can
there.
finish her swim, and we'll go out for brunch.
I love it. All right, so Genevieve, what are you working on? What is your build moving forward?
So I think, we're doing a summit too. And Jessica's really hitting on something. I think a lot of people, there's a time and a place for conferences, but I personally get exhausted by them. I go to many, and I usually return home, and I've got business cards, and I can't remember why I have some of these cards, and I met so many people, and I can't remember who, and it was a whirlwind, and I don't really know what happened. And I spent a lot of money. And so I started attending these kind of day summits in Napa. I saw you at one of those, and I loved that there was an opportunity to be more intimate, and that it wasn't rushed, and that you actually got to talk with people, and it wasn't a business card handing out sesh, and it was more like an opportunity to connect. So I hosted one of those for my LPs. And then I thought, how do I take all the best parts of a conference and all the best parts of these smaller intimate events and mash it together? So at the same time that line of thinking was happening, I was starting to think about, how do I work with the health plans? And that's something that's really difficult, not just for startups to do, but I don't know many venture funds. There are some health plans that are associated with venture funds or have spun out, but we have enough LPs who are either CEOs of plans or have been part of plans, as well as starting to attract people into our community and our ecosystem who had a lot of connection into the different plans. And so we said, well, what if we actually created a deal-making environment where it wasn't an investor event. There was no pitching. There was no dog and pony show. It was deal-making. And it's actually by invitation only. So then at the same time that we were starting to ideate this, I met Alim. And I started working with him at the Giants. And so we started to we're going to use Oracle Park as our venue. So we're going to make it a different type of experience. So there's going to be panels and fireside chats and things like that, but also fun activities associated with Oracle Park and things like that there. But we're bringing in CEOs of health plans. We're really targeting regional plans because they can move faster than some of the big ones like Elevance Health and stuff. And these people have to be in a decision-making role where they're sourcing innovation and they can make something happen. And then we're bringing in sort of like Series A stage companies. So we just say Series A because we want them to be at a point when they're ready to partner, truly ready to partner with the plan. And we're making sure that they actually meet each other's criteria. So everyone knows that the people in the room are vetted and have been designed to be there. So it's taking a lot of work to put it together. There's a whole team of people that are matching and sourcing and everything like that, getting people in the room. Then the other portion of the room will be advisors. Some of the advisors will be LPs in Suncoast, but they still have to be additive to the room. Maybe they're formerly health plan people or, and then the other portion of the room will be sponsors. So sponsors can attend, but they also have to be additive to the room. We've turned away plenty of sponsors because they just didn't have anything of value to contribute aside from money. And we're going to try to cap it at like 75. So I think these summits, April 29th and 30th.
Oh.
Yeah. But these summits, I think, are like the future because we're all exhausted. It's tiring going to those.
Yeah, those big ones like health
Yeah.
and Vive. It's like people are all over the place. And
Yeah. I love that you both are talking about this. I mean, so you mean 70 attendees, 100 attendees. I love this because if you've read my article, those of you listening read my article, Events Are Dead.
Yeah.
I really believe that if it's not curated and a campaign, meaning like there's going to be a play after this, there's going to be build up before this, where these relationships are being made so that it's more than just, hey, contact me after the show or after the event, right? It's like those one and dones aren't working, no matter how big you make them. Even if you look at some of the largest conferences all over the world, if there's not a campaign and it's not curated, I don't think people are going to have the energy to do that anymore. It'll just be white noise in the sense that I've been there, done that with all the saturation of what's going on in terms of events and promotion. So I love that you both are doing this. How can people learn more about your event, Genevieve?
Well, so we're not advertising it. We don't really have it on the website. It's like there's a deck and it gets sent to you. So I would just say people could like reach out to me on LinkedIn if they wanted to hear more about it. If I can't invite you, don't take it personally. Right. It's just very, vetted and curated, and we're looking for certain types of companies at certain stages. But they could reach out on LinkedIn or over email. My email's on our website.
Okay. Yeah. Well, I want to finish that up. How can people connect you if they want to learn more about your fund or maybe have a conversation with you? What's the best way of contacting you?
So suncoastvc.com is our fund. And then if they want to learn more like about me personally, I don't know, I have an Instagram. You can follow me on Instagram.
Nice. You don't hear that very often. VC on Instagram.
I have an Instagram. Yeah, I don't know.
We're on there together.
Yeah, we like each other's posts. And I have a podcast as well. It's called Adventurous Podcast, inspiring stories with trailblazing entrepreneurs about purpose, impact, and their incredible journey of transformation. And that's on all major podcasting platforms.
Love it.
So,
can you spell that? Adventurous?
Yeah. So AD Venture, VENTUREOUS. I have SEO problems.
I heard adventurous like princess.
Yeah. Oh, adventurous.
Adventurous.
That's
Thank
actually
you.
interesting. Yeah.
All right.
There's links, I think, on my website and other
perfect.
places.
And we'll put those in the show notes so when we play this, people be able to click on that. Jessica, how can people connect with you?
Also big on LinkedIn. So
that too.
Genevieve is too. And that's That's the main way, I think. And we have on our Coyote Ventures website a form that founders can fill out, and we do check that regularly. So we're open on cold intros, but if we know mutual people in common, it also helps if they flag it for me.
Yeah. Yeah. Big. Well, I want to thank both of you for being here. I think you both are amazing, and you're welcome back anytime. You got great things happening. You have a topic. You're both welcome back anytime. And I want to thank you both for being here. And Angie, what an angel. Angel.
She's very well behaved.
I've been sitting here watching her. I think she probably stole the show, and you guys don't even know it.
Yeah.
So check us out on YouTube. You can see Angie there, little cutie pie. So Brian, I didn't want to say anything. Yeah. All right. And thank you for joining us today. Follow us on Apple Podcast as well as Spotify under Silicon Valley Impact. We'll see you all soon.